Are you looking to audition for a show where the character that you really want to be is much older or younger than you are, and you don't know how to look a different age than what you are? I have some awesome tips that you can implement today to help you land that role of your dreams. My name is Megan Osborne Harrell, and let's get started with how to get cast as a character that's older or younger than you are. The amazing thing about age is that you can portray that you are much younger or much older based on the way that you carry yourself. It's not just about the lines on your face or if your hair is graying. It's so much deeper than that. If I broke it down in the simplest way I could, I would say think in hugely broad, exaggerated terms. A tiny toddler and an old person with a walker. Okay, you've got two very extreme differences there. What do you have? For youth, you have quick, fast, buoyant, joyful, happy, bouncy. These are words that are like staccato kind of words, and that is typically going to really help you look youthful. On the other hand, looking older, it's going to be slow, measured. Your voice might be deeper. Your movements are going to be a lot more careful. Think about really broad terms when you're trying to look much younger or much older than you are and try to implement some of those ideas. One of the quickest ways to look much younger is to speed up what you're doing. Now, you have to be careful with this because speaking too fast, you can lose some of your diction or volume, and you definitely don't want to do that. You want to be sure that all of your words are understood. But I can talk in kind of a more staccato, kind of a little bit more aggressive way, and that's going to create a little bit of youth for me, right? I haven't really sped up my words too much. I've kind of more shortened my words and made sure that I spoke them real clearly. That's going to create more youth. While slowing your voice down, thinking nice and relaxed, thinking very poised, often can come across as much older, much more wise, if you will. Along with your voice, think of the pitch. As kids and teenagers, we tend to talk a lot higher, especially when we're excited. Our voice goes way up in pitch, and we suddenly have this voice that's like really high, which is why teenage girls sometimes have some of the most obnoxious screaming voices. While as you get older, your voice naturally lowers. But it's also more of a relaxed state that you're in. You learn that not everything has to be all excited like this. Some of it can be a little bit more relaxed. So if you're playing an older character, you might want to lower that voice a little bit, maybe even add a little bit of graveliness to it if you can. A little bit of texture to your voice can also make it seem older, wiser, and fit an older character much better. Now let's talk about the way that you carry yourself and the way that you walk. If we're talking about standing up straight and presenting ourselves in the right light, how do you differentiate between youth and age? Again, I would go back to some of those words like toddler and older person. I would always say that it's very important to present yourself in the best light possible, so you're always going to want to use good posture. Now, I know that that might be a little confusing because when we think of old man, we think of all hunched over, right? And while that's a great character choice and maybe something that you might add in as you're rehearsing a show, it might not be the best way to present yourself when auditioning, but again, that's up to you. It's a character choice. If you're trying to look younger, think about being up on your toes just a little bit. This kind of creates a forward movement. It creates a little bit of a bounce. It has a lot more like springiness to it and almost impulsiveness. And if you're thinking about youth, impulsive is a very fitting word to match with youth. Walking on your toes, keeping your arms very relaxed and bouncy, and your head kind of loose. You can stand up straight and you can do these things, and it can create a lot of youth and kind of indecisiveness, again, impulsivity, and it's just kind of a nice, easy way to look a little bit younger than you are. On the opposite side of that, we're trying to look older. So again, you're gonna wanna be able to stand up straight, but I would think about your body being very much under your control. Nothing is gonna be loosey-goosey. Everything has a place. Your hands know what they're doing. They are not in your pockets. They are not crossed here. They are not on your hips. Not knowing what to do with your hands tends to say young. Knowing what to do with your hands says poised, wise, older. So think very controlled movements in the way that you hold yourself and the way that you walk across the space. Also think with your facial expressions big and round. Make those eyes nice and big and surprised. That often creates youth. So think nice big eyes and think almost like overexcited, over-enthusiastic movements. When thinking about an older person's facial expressions, I tend to think sarcastically, just a bit. So you've got the eyebrow raise, you've got the smirking, different faces like squinting your eyes. Things like that can look older, and I think about them as all being a little bit sarcastic. That doesn't mean that the character has to be sarcastic, but it can tend to make you look older when making those sarcastic type faces. Also, the way you sit can be very telling of how old you are coming across. Someone who's trying to be young, a teenager or a little kid, is definitely going to be more likely to sprawl. They're not necessarily going to sit up straight with their legs neatly crossed and their hands on their knees. They might sit with their legs open, one foot out to the side, an arm slung over the back of the chair. They might do that very 80s thing where you turn the chair around and you sit backwards in the chair, or they might sit sideways in a chair instead of sitting directly facing forward. These are things that can really communicate, I'm young and I'm just completely carefree. Those are things that say youth. While as an older person, you're definitely going to want to, again, have control and to sit properly in a chair, because after all, you are old, you learned manners, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you know the rules of society, so you want to look like that on stage too. You can't control this, but I think it's something that you need to be aware of. Your height and your weight can say a lot about how you read on stage. Your height can definitely affect whether or not you get cast in a certain role, especially with love interests. If you're a female much taller than all of the guys, it's harder to match you up with a guy that you guys look great together on stage. Typically, taller people get cast as older characters and shorter people get cast as younger characters. This is not always the case, but a lot of times it is. Why is this? Because we get taller as we get older. It is an automatic thing in our brain that we just think about. So if you have two people auditioning and one is much taller than the other, that taller person is more likely to get cast as the dad figure than the younger person. This is especially true of like high school. Again, not always true. For instance, if it's a grandfather role, that person might be the shortest person of all. I don't think that a lot of teenagers realize this, but if you're not standing up straight, then you look shorter. You can look up to 2 inches shorter just by not using good posture. It's really funny when our back and our body is fully correctly aligned. We breathe better, we have better circulation, our body works better, and we look taller. What a nice bonus. So be sure you're using that excellent posture to look as tall and as confident as you can, and it might even add a couple of inches to your height. There are something called shoe lifts. I'm going to put a link down below in the description so you can check them out and you can purchase them. But guys, if you are a little bit under average height, these things can add 2 to 3 inches to your height. You have to be careful what kind of shoe you wear with them, because if you have the full platform in, your heel's gonna slide out of your shoe. But if you wear a shoe that kind of comes up around your ankle, some kind of a boot, it's gonna more likely stay in. Also, they come in 2 parts, so you could just use one part. You could just give yourself 1 inch of height, and sometimes that's all you need. So if you want to look a little bit taller, that is a great way to do it. Now, if you're trying to be shorter, let's say, ladies, that you're much taller than the guys that are in your theater program. You're gonna want to wear flat shoes. And you say, well, of course, I knew that. But I think sometimes people wear a shoe that doesn't have a heel and they think this is a flat shoe. That's not necessarily a flat shoe. You want to wear like a slipper shoe that has barely any sole. They have no support, but they are the best way to be the smallest height that you can be. Even ½ of an inch can make a big difference when you're on stage. So be sure that you are wearing the flattest shoes that you can. Now let's talk about weight for a minute. This can be a tricky subject to talk about. A lot of people are self-conscious about their weight. I don't think there's any reason to be. You are beautiful and wonderful exactly the way you are. I should tell you though, sometimes your weight can affect how you get cast in a show. This is kind of odd, but it makes sense because we associate being thin and small with being young. Because as a kid, you're probably gonna be at one of the best shapes that you can be in because you're running around all the time, right? And as we get older, we tend to get complacent and gain weight. So for some reason, psychologically, we associate being of a heavier weight with being older and of a smaller weight of being younger. You can make this look different for you though. Wear clothes that are appropriate for your shape. When I taught high school, a bunch of the girls in my theater department wore clothes that were just big giant sweaters and leggings. They were cute as buttons, but when I would put them on stage in a costume that I found appropriate for their body shape, they looked spectacular. Suddenly this person had all these gorgeous curves and great shoulders to show off, and they had like an elegant neck, and those are things you could never see because they were hidden by a big muumuu of a dress. So wearing something that has nice structure to it and shows off your assets is really gonna help you be able to be a multitude of roles on stage regardless of your weight. The same thing is true if you are really bone thin. You can always add texture or shape to your clothing to add curves if that's what you're desiring to have to look a different age or to fit into a specific type of character. So as a guy, you're also gonna wanna wear something that's really flattering and fits the type of role that you're looking for. If you are hoping that you're going to get the dad part, don't wear a t-shirt and beat up jeans. That's gonna make you look young and youthful. Wear something that's a little bit more structured, perhaps a collared shirt or a sweater. Or if you want to go all out, do a sweater vest and a bow tie or suspenders or a suit. I mean, there's a lot of things you can wear that are going to create the illusion of age. So think about, what are you wearing to auditions? What does it say about how old you are and about the type of character that you can play? Wear something that is definitely the most flattering that it can be for your body shape. In addition to dressing appropriately for your body shape and for the age that you're going for, think about your hair too. You're gonna want to get that hair out of your face if you're trying to look older. Not very many people who are full-grown adults walk around with their hair all in their face, but that's a very typical teenage thing to do. And that's great, that's no big deal, but it does make you look more youthful if your hair's in your face. So pull it out of your face or use some product to make sure that it doesn't fall into your eyes. So today we talked about some really simple ways that you can look either older or younger than you really are for an audition. And don't be discouraged if your director already knows you. Give them a reason to reframe you in their mind. If you're looking to be a younger part, wear something a little bit more youthful. Hold yourself in a more youthful way. Be sure that you are having a lot of energy and a lot of hype and excitement. Think bright and staccato and energy. If you're looking to be an older character, hold yourself in that more poised, calm, collected, careful state. Wear some clothes that are going to definitely aid in making you look like you have more wisdom and age and years on you. Lower that voice just a little bit, relax, and think older. If you liked this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Share with your friends, share with your students, and if you have anything that you would like me to do a video on, hit me up below. I would love to hear what some of your ideas are and what are some of the things that you're trying to work on as an actor. My name is Megan Osborne Harrell, and you got this, guys.